Hey everyone, Noah here. Today I just wanted to talk about something that's been on my mind lately and just kind of do some processing out loud. I wanted to talk about laws and rules. I've been considering lately about how I've been noticing people setting expectations or rules up without an understanding of what makes a rule or a law a law. And I was able to come up with three components that seem to define every rule that we run into. The first one is the principle. This is kind of the foundational aspect that this rule is built on. I'll go through these later in an example, but the second one is the practical implementation. What is the rule asking of us? And how does that connect to the principle that we built the rule on in the first place? And then the third one is the consequence. This is often a reflection of the effect of the behavior that we're trying to avoid that's returned back onto the person who did it. So, in the example of littering, right, we have a law against littering. So, how does this kind of process? Well, the principle is something like we value the earth. We value nature. We don't want to kill animals with plastic that we're throwing into the streams. We don't want what was the whole thing? The turtles with the straws in their nose. We don't want that to happen. That is some suffering that we're causing, and we're destroying the environment. So don't litter. That's the principle, right? And you can disagree or agree with that principle, but that's a principle that we're using to set up this rule. The second part is the practical implication, which is the do not litter part, right? We have the principle, and then we say, okay, well, how do we execute this principle? How do we practically ask people to participate in the principle itself? And so the way we do that is we say, well, if there's one thing you can do is just don't throw your trash in the road. Like, we have a place for it, put it there. Don't participate in the destruction of the environment. So that is the practical way that plays out. And then the third part is the consequence. So what happens if you don't, if you litter, if you don't throw your trash in the proper place? There's a bunch of different things, but I think the one that kind of comes to mind as being the consequence, right, is that if you break certain laws, and this might be one of them, you are asked to do community service. So you might be on the side of a highway picking up trash. And this law, right, of not littering is now a complete kind of image with these three. And correct me, anybody in the comments, if they find that this is not enough or if I'm missing something. But when one of these is not correctly aligned, we run into trouble, right? If a law has very good practical implications and has a consequence, but you disagree with the principle itself, then that's an unjust law. For example, if we had a law about singing in public, right? The principle is the best society is quiet, right? And we have a practical law. Well, yeah, practically that would play out, and people are not allowed to sing outside their homes. And maybe the punishment is that they're forced to wear a covering of their mouth or something for a specific period of time. That's all consistent logically, but if you disagree with the principle itself, then that's unjust. Same goes for each of these pieces, right? If the practical element is out of order, then it makes no sense, right? And we see this in our society where we have a goal that we're trying to reach, and the law itself doesn't match the goal. I mean, for an example, is tax codes. Often one one element is we all think that we should participate financially in the government, and that it can provide something for us. And if certain people are not asked to pay, right? If they don't end up paying money, then we see that this is an unjust law because it doesn't support the principle it was all built on in the first place. And then the last is the consequence, right? So we have a good law like littering, right? Protect the earth and don't throw trash on the ground, but the punishment is death. That's an unjust law because the consequence doesn't naturally follow um, the action. It's disproportionate. I think this has use all the way down the tree, right? Of the highest authorities we can think of, and also the lowest authorities. From everything in between, right? Governments, of families. That if we can understand these kind of core principles of what makes a good rule, we can all kind of be in agreement and also have a common language to be able to talk about this, right? Because even though I might think that the principle of protecting the environment and punishment of having people pick up trash off the side of the street, people would disagree with me. And, that's part of this deal. But being able to communicate, say, well, this punishment is too much, right? And we can have a conversation now. But when we don't split up the rule into these three pieces, if you say it's an unjust rule, then you're not addressing the actual reason. So I hope this gives us a common language to be able to talk about this. But it's just an idea I was throwing around. So I hope you all enjoy it. I have a video coming out at some point. I'm working on this Stoicism Skyrim video. I might have told a few people. So this is my official announcement. So look forward to that. I'm hoping that will be the next video, and I will be working quite hard on that. So leave a comment, and I hope to talk to you all later. Have a good one.